I took $400 to the GOAT card show with the intention of buying inventory. Not grails, not trophy cards, not cards for that dopamine hit. Just inventory. Cards that fit the actual business I run every day. Low buy-in, recognizable names, good category fit, clear listing paths, and enough margin to make sense in an eBay store with over 26,000 active listings. By the end of the day, I had spent $360. And the most important part of that number might be the $40 I didn't spend. Because the goal was never to force the full budget out of my pocket. The goal was to buy cards that fit the model. So today, I'm taking you through a real card show sourcing day from beginning to end. The 5 a.m. alarm, the family load-in, the promoter duties, the live stream, the Walkaway deal, the football value box, the Marvel Reprise, and the last-minute Star Wars binder. And the reminder that sourcing is not just about what you buy, it's also about what you pass on. Welcome to my so-called card life, the podcast where we talk about what actually happens when you try to run a real card business. The decisions, adjustments, and lessons that don't show up in highlight reels. Welcome back, everyone. This week, the episode's going to be a little different because it was built around a real day in real time with real buying decisions from the GOAT card show. And I think that matters because a lot of sourcing content gets cleaned up after the fact. You see the haul, you see the stack, you hear what somebody paid, and maybe you hear what one or two comps were, but you don't always get the full context. You don't always hear about the time it took to find the cards. You don't always hear about the deal that didn't happen. You don't always hear about the money left in your pocket. And you don't always hear about how sourcing fits around everything else happening in the room. And for me, this was not just a normal card show buying day. This was our show, the GOAT card show at the historic Riverside Ballroom in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So I wasn't walking in as only a buyer. I was walking in as a promoter, a host, a content creator, a dad, a seller, a buyer, and someone trying to keep the entire day moving. That changes the way sourcing works. You don't get unlimited time to sit at every table. And you don't get to disappear for 3 hours and dig every box in the room. Instead, you have windows to work with. You buy during setup. You scout between conversations. You dig when the room allows it. You walk away when the price is wrong, and you come back when the door opens again. And that's really the point of this episode. This is not a haul episode. This is a sourcing episode. The cards matter, but the process matters even more. I want to walk through the day chronologically because that's the best way to show how the decisions actually happened. And we'll start at 5 a.m. with the alarm, go through the setup, the vendor entry, early buys, the live stream, maybe a walkaway, the value box football buy, and a Marvel card deal that came back, and then a last-minute Star Wars binder before then closing the show down. By the end, the final tally was 4 official buys. $170 on a mixed sports and non-sports buy, $40 on a football value box stack, $100 on a Marvel, DC, and superhero stack, and $50 on a Star Wars Evolution binder. That total spent $360. And I came home with $40 still in my pocket. In fact, I still have that $40 in my pocket today. That's the number I want you to keep in mind throughout this episode, because it says something important about buying inventory. The budget is not the target. The model is the target. If you enjoy this kind of hobby and reseller conversation, check out the Dollar Box live every other Wednesday night from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central. We go live with JC3 Cards and Collectibles in the Dollar Box to talk cards, reselling, eBay, whatnot, live selling, inventory strategy, and whatever chaos the hobby gives us that week. It is part hobby talk, part reseller discussion, and part live reaction to what is actually happening in the card market. You can catch the Dollar Box live every other Wednesday night from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time. The day started at 5 a.m. The alarm goes off, and it's time to get ready for the show. But this is not just me throwing a backpack in the truck and driving to a card show. This was a full family load-in. We had marketing materials, table runners, social media banners, and flyers. We had prize operations with tickets, a ticket drum, everything needed for the charity donation prizes. We had inventory for the kids' small table with Pokemon and sports cards. We had live streaming gear with a laptop and lighting and microphone and mouse and power cord and a webcam. And then I had my sourcing tools. And this is a part I think people should actually pay attention to, because sourcing is easier when you show up prepared. My basic sourcing kit was a backpack, a collapsible stool, glasses, a magnifying glass, a few 100-count boxes, some lunch bags, sleeves, and top loaders. Nothing overly complicated and nothing exotic, but all useful. If I'm going to dig for 45 minutes, I want that stool. If I'm evaluating condition or small print, I need those glasses and a magnifier. If I'm building stacks, the boxes and bags come in handy. If I find something that needs protection, I want to be able to sleeve and top load that right away. So by 6:45, everything was loaded in the pickup and we were ready to head to the venue. And that's the first sourcing lesson of the day. Sourcing starts before the first box opens. If you show up without a way to organize what you're buying, without a way to carry it, without a way to protect it, or without a way to comfortably dig, you make the whole process harder than it needs to be. At 7 a.m., we arrived at the venue. And this is where the day shifts into event mode. Before I can even think about buying any cards, there are some show responsibilities I need to tend to. Things like checking in with the facility manager, verifying the layout's correct, making sure tables and chairs are where they need to be, checking on the lighting, checking restrooms. Then we start setting up the host table, and then the live stream table, and then the kids selling table, and the charitable donations table. There are also those random details that matter more than people realize. Things like cleaning tables, placing vendor assignments, putting out trash cans, making sure bathrooms are stocked, and making sure the room's ready to open for vendor setup. Now, none of that is glamorous work. But if you're running a show, it really matters. And again, this is part of why this sourcing day is different. When I talk about buying $360 in inventory, I was not doing that in a vacuum. I was doing it inside a day where the primary responsibility was making sure the show functioned. And that means sourcing had to fit into the cracks. It's a useful thing to understand because most resellers are sourcing around something, whether it be a job, a family schedule, a table they're set up at, or a live stream, maybe a show they're helping to run. The reality is, very few of us get perfect buying conditions every time. Now it's 8 a.m., and we finally open the doors for vendor entry. And this is when the room changes. Vendors start wheeling in inventory. They check in at the front desk, find their tables, and start building out their displays. Their shelves, cases, card boxes, and banners, loose singles, sealed boxes, branded signs, additional lighting. Some have prize wheels, and all kinds of miscellaneous show gear. In a lot of our shows, we also have breakers setting up on the main stage. For us, this hour is about being good hosts. We're talking with vendors, addressing last minute needs, handling any facility issues that exist, and helping people get ready for the public opening. But there is a second purpose to this window. From 8 to 9, the event also functions as an unadvertised early access period. Once vendors are set up, they start to visit other tables, and they start making early buys, and they start scouting the room. And as hosts, we can do that too when the opportunity is there. Now, this isn't about taking advantage of anything, it's about being part of the show ecosystem. Vendors buy from vendors all the time, and promoters buy from vendors. And dealers buy inventory before the public is let into the facility. That is all part of the room warming up. And toward the end of that window is where I made my first and largest buy of the day. Buy number one was a mixed sports and non-sports purchase from a dealer I buy from at nearly every show. And that matters, because this was a relationship buy. I know this dealer. I know the kind of inventory they bring. Heck, I believe that they bring inventory with myself and the dollar box specifically in mind. I know their table usually has non-sport that interests me, But I also know their sports side often has enough value to build a mixed stack of cards. The final price for me at that table was $170. And that represented roughly 66% of their list price. So this was not bulk by the pound. This was a curated discount buy, and it covered a lot of categories. There was NASCAR, numbered and top loaded stuff like a 2024 Donruss Optic Prism Ryan Truex Auto, serial numbered out of 25. A red Prism Kurt Busch, serial numbered out of 99. A red Prism Jimmy Johnson, serial numbered out of 99. And a Kyle Busch, serial numbered out of 149. A small stack of NASCAR, but useful. Because I'm not trying to become the biggest NASCAR dealer on eBay, but numbered racing stars and low number autos at the right buy-in are exactly the kind of cards I want available in the store. And then there was some football. Brady, Favre, Elway. Again, nothing complicated. The names carry the search traffic. And then came the biggest sports component of the deal. 119 cards from 2025 Topps Chrome Formula One. And this was a good example of why I like modern racing at the right price. The stack had current stars, some legends, some rookies, inserts, refractors, black and white laser refractors, checkered flag refractors, and enough names to create multiple listing paths. Names like Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna, Kimi Räikkönen, Fernando Alonso, some rookies like Oliver Behrman, Isaac Hajar, Gabriel Bortoleto rookies in first. This was not just random F1 Chrome. This is inventory depth. Some can be singles, some driver lots, some insert lots. Some can be rookie lots or legend lots. And this is what I want in a buy like this. Then there was a baseball stack that was 22 cards, all sleeved and top loaded. There was Ohtani and Judge and Jeter and Trout, Skeens and Churio, Jacob Mizorowski, even an autographed Vita Blue card. Again, easy names. A lot of these are not cards I have to explain to the buyer. The buyer already knows why they are searching. And the basketball stack was small but clean. Kobe, Shaq, Giannis, LeBron, Michael Jordan. That's exactly what I want basketball to look like in a mixed buy. Don't need to get too cute with it. The dealer even had a free Wisconsin themed lot thrown in. The dealer likes to run scratch off prize cards, and you earn tickets for each level of sales you use. And this time I won that Wisconsin themed pack, and that adds to the total overall purchase. That themed lot had Bucks and Brewers and Packers, more Giannis, Freddie Peralta, Brewers rookies, Packers names. Some were Bowman Chrome firsts, and some were prospects. The cost basis there is zero, and regional inventory can work both online and in person. And then came the non-sports side, which was really the draw. There were 80 non-sport cards, including numbered Kakao Disney cards, and groups from Chinese Pixar sets featuring Toy Story, The Incredibles, and Cars. This is the kind of inventory that can get missed in a sports-heavy room. Disney and Pixar have character-driven demand. They have collectors outside the usual sports card audience. And they can become singles or themed lots. And they fit the JC3 store very well. So buy number one on the day gave me a little bit of everything. There was F1 depth, NASCAR numbered cards, evergreen football names, baseball stars and rookies, and basketball icons. There was some Wisconsin local appeal in Disney and Pixar non-sport. That's a good mixed buy. And the lesson is simple. Relationship buys matter. When you know the dealer, know their inventory, and know how it fits your store, you can move faster and buy with more confidence. Now it's a little after 9 a.m., and buying gets paused as the content side of the day kicked in. That's when Adam and I went live from the GOAT Card Show on the Dollar Box YouTube page. And we streamed for about 41 minutes. The purpose was not just to go live for the sake of going live. We wanted people to see the room. We wanted to promote the show, talk about the hours, talk about the vendors and the charitable donations and prizes, and the venue itself. We wanted to share some of our early buys. And yes, we did also give the venue food menu a little bit of a plug. Because that's part of the modern card show now. The show itself creates content. And the content promotes the show. The live stream gives people a reason to pay attention. And the buys become talking points. The room energy becomes part of the story. So this was another shift in role. I went from promoter to buyer to content creator and eventually back to buyer again. That is the rhythm of a day like this. Now it's getting later in the morning and the public doors have been open for an hour or so. We've done the live stream to share the experience with people and remind them to come out for the day. And I started to poke around at a couple other tables. I like to walk the aisles a little bit and get an idea of where I want to circle back. But then my youngest son came up to me with some scouting information. He said, there's a vendor with Marvel cards you should really check out. And you know what? He was right. I found the table, set up my collapsible stool, and I started digging. The dealer had a box of maybe 3,500 to 4,000 cards that were all non-sport and a mix of Marvel, DC, X-Men, superhero cards. Early on, the dealer threw out that he was looking to move the whole box. So I explored that with him a little bit and asked for a price he was looking at. And he threw out $250 for the box. Now, it's tempting on the surface. A big box of superhero cards for $250 can sound like a deal. But my experience so far with these types of cards has taught me to be a little more selective. Not every Marvel card is a good resale card. And not every DC card is a good resale card either. Not every superhero character has enough demand to justify the work. So instead of buying the whole box, I just kept digging and building my own stack. I was mostly looking for main characters, any parallels, and of course, anything that looked really interesting. Deadpool, Avengers, X-Men, and a strong portion of 2025 Fleer Brilliant Superman ended up in my stack. After about 45 minutes, I had a stack of 113 cards. I would put the dealer list price on the stack at $167. I let the dealer make the first offer on this, and he said he could do $150. Now, unfortunately, that was not in my range for these cards. So I countered at $100 even. And this time the dealer would not budge. So I simply thanked him for the consideration and moved on. Was I disappointed? Absolutely. But not really because I didn't get that exact stack of cards. I was disappointed because I had invested 45 minutes digging and had nothing to show for it. But that's where discipline matters. The time you spend digging doesn't obligate you to buy. That time is already spent. It's gone. If the deal doesn't work, throwing money at it just to feel like the time was productive is a mistake. A good stack at the wrong price is still the wrong buy. And as I left, I did pause to tell the dealer I really thought my offer was strong on this. He'd offered the whole box at $250, and I was offering $100 for just 113 cards that I had handpicked from the box. Now, yes, you're probably thinking what I picked was probably the best cards in the box. And from my perspective, they were. But also from my perspective, that was a very strong offer. I had a feeling there was a chance that deal might come back later if another Marvel buyer didn't come along. But at that point, unfortunately, there was no deal. And sometimes that is sourcing. Now it's getting around noontime and we're past the halfway point of the show. It's time to support the venue and buy some lunch. And it was also time to check in with the rest of the Promoter LLC group. Checked in with my oldest son, who had set up a small table, and I got to hear some of his success stories from the day. Then I checked in with the Dollar Box, who was testing a new strategy at the show by selling card supplies. Then I checked in with Mrs. JC3 and Mrs. Dollar Box to make sure everything was okay on their end. And somewhere along the way, I drew and announced a prize winner from one of our charitable donation prizes. Now, this is not a sourcing segment in the obvious sense. But it matters because it shows what the day really was. At a show you help run, sourcing happens in windows. You buy around lunch. You buy around family check-ins. You buy around prize drawings. And you buy around vendor needs. Ultimately, you buy around the responsibilities of the day. And that is real life. After lunch, around 12:30 or so, I only had to move about 20 feet to find the next opportunity. A dealer had a couple of 50-cent football boxes, and that's often our bread and butter. It's not fancy inventory, and it's not showcase inventory. This is not the kind of stuff people usually build dramatic content around, but it's exactly the kind of inventory that can keep the store humming. So out came the collapsible stool again, and I started digging. I ended up with a stack of 179 cards, and about half the stack was current or former starting NFL quarterbacks. And the current quarterback side was not just filler. There was a sizable stack of Mahomes and Josh Allen, and a favorable portion of Joe Burrow mixed in. The rest of the stack was mostly Hall of Famers, legends, and current stars. Names like Barry Sanders and Randy Moss, and Travis Kelce and Derrick Henry. Mostly common base and inserts, but good velocity names. But before I was done digging, I heard over the room PA, "Charlie, to the front desk, please. Charlie, to the front desk." Now that usually means there's an event issue or task to handle. So I asked the dealer to set my stack aside while I went to check in. But when I got to the front desk, it wasn't what I expected. The team told me that a dealer was looking for me, and they said they had a stack set aside for me. So as they described the dealer, I began to realize this was probably the Marvel dealer from earlier. The one where we couldn't get to terms on the stack. So that instantly became interesting. Had he come around? Maybe. First, I had to finish that football buy. So I went back to the table, picked through a little bit more of the boxes, and wrapped up the stack. Now that dealer's list price was $89.50. So I opened at $40. And the dealer accepted on initial terms. So the final buy was 179 cards for $40, or about 22 cents per card. And that's a strong buy for my model. At that cost basis, I have some flexibility. Some will end up being $1.99 to $4.99 singles. Some can go into player lots. Some of those are going to work really well with our store coupons. And it's okay that some can sit in the store and wait for the right buyer to come along. Some will add depth to categories that already sell. Again, nothing fancy in that stack, but it was very useful. And that's the lesson here. Not every good buy looks exciting on camera. Some buys are just clean, low-cost, name-driven inventory that keeps the machine moving. So after finishing with the football value box buy, it was getting close to 1:30 in the afternoon, and I made my way back to that Marvel dealer. As I approached, he was looking down at his phone, and I casually said hello and mentioned that I heard he wanted to speak with me again. He looked up and said I spoke with my buddy, and he said we can do the deal for $100. I said, sounds good. And that was it. The stack was still there right where I left it, and the box looked untouched from what I had dug through earlier. We completed the deal, had a little small talk. I walked away with the 113 card stack of Marvel, DC, and other superheroes and villains. So that's the payoff to the earlier Walkaway. But the lesson is not always walk away and the dealer will cave. That's not how it works. Honestly, most walkaways stay walkaways. The lesson is that if you know your number, make a fair offer, and stay professional, sometimes the deal gets another chance. This stack had a lot of what I was looking for. There were 12 cards from the Pokemon Pikachu Heroes and Villains product with characters like Brainiac, Iceman, Sabretooth, the Beast, and She-Hulk, Two-Face, Robin, Galactus, Deathstroke, Hawkeye, and the Batman who laughs. All in a form of Pikachu. That was very unique, and I hadn't seen it before. And all of them had what I would call the Panini laser parallel to them. Then there were some Kakawal Aura Marvel Captain America cards, including a silver parallel. And there was a Topps Chrome Marvel Studios Galactus debut card. And a Spider-Man from Captain America Civil War, again in Chrome. There were 19 cards from 2025 Topps Chrome Marvel Deadpool. And that group had Dogpool and Ladypool, Deadpool and Wolverine cover stars, Spider-Gwen, Gambit, Blade, Rogue, Wolverine, refractors of Deadpool and Psylocke, a Baby Pool Mini Diamond, a Cowboy Pool Mini Diamond, and much more. That's a really good character stack. The anchor, though, was 49 cards from 2025 Fleer Brilliant Superman. This had the classic covers inserts, including Action Comics #1, Superman #1, Action Comics 252, The Man of Steel #1, and All-Star Superman #1. Those truly are classic, influential comics. It had the Revenge Squad cards with General Zod, Metallo, Brainiac, and Bizarro. It had some Red Heat Vision parallel cards numbered out of 1938, including Superman, Bloodsport, and Superboy. It also had the basic red and purple parallels of characters like Krypto, Lex Luthor, Superman and Supergirl, Power Girl, and Darkseid. Again, some of those villains like General Zod and Metallo. And some alternate versions like Superboy Prime. That is exactly what I was looking for. Not random superhero bulk. Main characters, known villains, parallels and numbered cards, iconic comic covers, and searchable names. There were also about 29 cards from 2025 Topps Chrome Marvel, with the Icon insert set with Iron Man and Thor, some Silver Surfer and Juggernaut, a Samurai Venom, X-Men giant-size Wolverine, the New Avengers Spider-Man and Iron Man, even Captain America. There were some yellow lava parallels for Gambit and Spider-Ham and Thor, and other refractors of Carnage, Spider-Man 2099, Doctor Doom, and the Green Goblin. And probably my favorite card of the entire day was in that stack. And that was Jeff the Land Shark. That might not be the most expensive card of the day, but it was the most interesting to me. And that part is why I like non-sport. Sometimes the memorable card is not the biggest card. Sometimes it's the weird character, the fun visual, the card that makes you stop and say, that is why I dig these boxes. So buy number 3 ended up being 113 cards for $100. A deal that was dead at 11 a.m. came back to life at 1:30 because I made my number clear and walked away when it wasn't there. Now it's about 1:45 and that clock on the wall was getting close to the end of another GOAT card show. There was still time for one more curated pick. There's a dealer who is a regular at our show that I've also bought from at other shows. The relationship goes back a couple of years now, long enough that he's earned my trust as a fair dealer with good product. For the last few shows, he's had binders out with various sports and non-sport products. And I had seen the dollar box have some success buying from his binders, specifically with Star Wars. So it was worth one last stop. I spotted a binder of 2001 Top Star Wars Evolution. This is an interesting set because it's an all-foil set, and it includes characters from the original trilogy plus Episode 1. And as I leafed through the binder, I found 210 cards and even a 2001 set promo poster. At first glance, it looked like about 98 cards were from the 2001 set, and then 112 others were actually from the 2006 Update Edition. Condition looked good, as expected. And the binder was marked at $60, which was clearly marked down from $70 at some point. So I gave the dealer a nod and I said, $50? He said, for you, I'll do 50 for you. Handshake, done. And I was on my way back to my staging area with the last buy of the day. Once I got it home, the buy became more interesting. It was split between two sets, 2001 Top Star Wars Evolution and 2006 Top Star Wars Evolution Update Edition. There were the 98 2001 cards, including a complete base set from 1 to 90, plus extra checklist cards, promo Obi-Wan Kenobi cards, and the promo poster. The 2006 Update Edition cards had 112, including another complete base set from 1 to 90, again checklist cards, promo Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a group of evolution cards featuring the likes of Anakin Skywalker, Boba Fett, Darth Sidious, Darth Vader, Han Solo, Yoda, Tusken Raider, the Slave One Boba Fett ship, and Princess Leia. This was probably the cleanest category fit buy of the day. Again, not the biggest, not the most expensive, but clean. Star Wars already works in my store. Complete sets give me a clear listing pad. Promos give me additional hooks. The poster gives the buy a little extra texture. And the cost basis was low enough to give me options. And that makes it a good last minute buy. Sometimes the best buy of the day is not the biggest one. Sometimes it's the one that fits the cleanest. At 2 p.m., the public side of the GOAT card show came to an end. The sourcing was done, the buying was done, and now the role shifted back almost completely to event promoter and manager. The public started to file out. The dealers had 1 hour to pack up and clear the facility. This time becomes a lot of vendor conversations. How did the day go? What did you think of the room? Are you interested in the next date? Would you like to pre-book? Would you like any help packing up? Any questions that you have? And we also had the final prize drawing for our charitable partner, which we streamed live. Then we had to pack up our own belongings. All the marketing material, the live stream equipment, the kids' table, the prize materials, the leftover supplies, everything that came in and had to go back out. And then came the final check-in with the facility manager. And by 3 p.m., we were headed home. And the only thing left on a schedule at that point was a well-deserved nap. So that was the day. Alarm at 5, loaded by 6:45, venue set up at 7, vendor entry at 8, the first buy before the public opening and a live stream at 9:11, a 45-minute Marvel dig that turned into a Walkaway, some lunch and promoter check-ins at midday, a 50-cent football box, and the Marvel deal coming back in a last-minute Star Wars binder just before show close at 2 o'clock. Home and nap at 3, and the final sourcing tally was buy number 1, $170 in mixed sports and non-sports. Buy number 2, $40 in football value box items. Buy number 3, $100 in Marvel and DC superheroes. And buy number 4, $50 in Star Wars Evolutions. Total spent, $360. Cash left, $40. And I still have that $40 in my pocket. And that's probably the cleanest lesson from the whole day. I didn't bring $400 to the show because I had to spend $400. I brought $400 so I had buying power if the right inventory showed up. There is a difference. Sourcing is not about emptying the budget. It's about matching inventory to the model. For my store, that means recognizable names, low enough buy-in, some clear listing paths, category fits, lot building options, some coupon-friendly inventory, and enough margin after fees, shipping, and time in those slow movers. Buy number 1 worked because it was a relationship buy with depth across sports and non-sport. Buy number 2 worked because it was low-cost football velocity with quarterbacks, Hall of Famers, and stars. Buy number 3 worked because I stayed disciplined, walked away, and let the deal come back to my number. And buy number 4 worked because it was a clean Star Wars category fit binder with complete set potential. And the deal that did not happen at first might have been the most important part of the day. Because honestly, walking away after 45 minutes is very difficult. It feels like wasted time. But it's better to waste 45 minutes than to force a buy that doesn't fit. And that's the real sourcing lesson. You're not just buying cards. You are buying future listings, future work and future storage. You're buying future customer service, future shipping, and future margin. So the question is not simply, can I buy this? The question is, does this belong in the business I'm building? For this day, $360 worth of inventory did belong in the business, and $40 stayed in my pocket. And that makes it a successful sourcing day. That is card show sourcing in action. Until next time, I hope you all keep building your own so-called card life.